WWE has announced this week on NXT that the Great American Bash event will be returning to WWE television for the first time in 12 years for next week's episode of NXT on the USA Network. This, of course, is a response to AEW airing the Fyter Fest themed episodes of AEW Dynamite on TNT. The Fyter Fest episodes of AEW Dynamite will take place on July 1st and July 8th, 2020, and will feature all championships in AEW being defended across 2 nights. NXT has already announced the winner-take-all match between NXT champion Adam Cole and NXT North American champion Keith Lee for the July 8th, 2020 edition of NXT, and the announcement of the Great American Bash looks to be WWE's latest strategy of counter-programming against AEW Dynamite. Now, matches scheduled for next week's Great American Bash edition of NXT include the following: Dexter Lumis versus Roderick Strong in a strap match, and Dakota Kai versus Tegan Nox in an NXT Women's Championship #1 contender match, with the winner facing NXT Women's Champion Io Shirai. So which show will you be watching? Are you glad to see the Great American Bash return to WWE? Now, it was also stated that this isn't going to be just a 1-week event. It's actually going to take place across 2 weeks, could you believe it, on July 1st and July 8th as well. Now, I must say, I really don't have a problem with the Great American Bash returning. I'm a big fan of the event. I liked when WWE did it in the past, when they had it as a SmackDown exclusive event in the mid-2000s. Of course, I'm a fan. I'm a wrestling historian. I was a big fan of WCW's Great American Bash tours and Great American Bash events. I don't have a problem with it. However, you cannot tell me that there isn't a Wednesday Night War. Now, how often and how long have we heard about, WWE doesn't care about AEW, right? WWE doesn't consider AEW to be competition. WWE doesn't even pay attention to All Elite Wrestling because they're not competition. Now, I'm not an AEW mark and I'm not a WWE mark. I'm a fan of both. You can be a fan of both if you could believe it or not, regardless of what social media or Twitter says. You can be a fan of both and support both. I'm a professional wrestling fan. There are good things and there are bad things about what both companies do and what both brands do. There are things I like about NXT that I don't like about NXT. There's things I like about AEW Dynamite and there's things I don't like about AEW Dynamite. But the idea and this narrative that we've been given for quite a while now, that WWE doesn't feel threatened by AEW, it's laughable. It really is. Now, all of this stuff predates all this Great American Bash stuff that we've just heard, right? You had The Undertaker just being announced to appear at StarCast, right? He didn't even appear there. He was just announced to be appearing at StarCast. Vince McMahon goes crazy because he considers it to be an AEW affiliated event, and he gives The Undertaker a 15-year contract. When that contract expires, The Undertaker will be 70 years old. Now you go to Edge. Edge gets an offer to compete for AEW. They says, look, we think we can bring you in and we can have some matches. Lo and behold, Edge goes to WWE and says, look, AEW's telling me I can wrestle again. And lo and behold, Edge gets cleared to wrestle again. Could you believe it? The guy who could never compete again gets given a ridiculous 3-year deal for an insane amount of money, and the Rated R superstar is back. Another example, AEW Dynamite is announced for Wednesdays on TNT in 2019 from 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. Eastern, and then wouldn't you know it, straight away, NXT is moving to the USA Network from 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. Eastern, expanding to 2 hours. And now, I'm not saying this is just a WWE one-sided thing. AEW has done the same thing. Not to that extent and not to being that obvious. They've put on title matches across from NXT when I think they were having the Survivor Series sort of pre-show or Survivor Series go-home show, and you had the Raw and SmackDown stars appear on NXT. Didn't AEW have a title match that night? I wouldn't say it's as obvious and as blatant as WWE has been when it comes to this. And look, this is a counter-argument that people will say NXT was on Wednesday first. Do me a favor. Yes, NXT was on Wednesdays first, but they were on the WWE Network for 1 hour, and I would be stunned if the majority of people didn't watch on demand, and they certainly didn't watch live. The majority of people, I would speculate 90% of the people that watched NXT watched it on demand. That's just because that's what it was. It was a thing to watch. It came out on Wednesdays, but you didn't have to watch it live. Watch it whenever you want, and it was 1 hour on the network. WWE knows what they're doing here. They knew what they were doing every time they've done this counter-programming against AEW. Now, next thing you know, AEW announces after Double or Nothing in May, they announced that this year's Fyter Fest event won't be an event on, last year was on BR Live, wasn't it? But it wouldn't be a Saturday event, one show. It'll be spread over 2 editions of Dynamite, similar to how they did Bash at the Beach earlier this year. It'll be on July 1st and July 8th. All titles are going to be on the line. It's going to be a pay-per-view worthy card, but this time it's going to be free on TNT. Nice tagline there. And then suddenly, wouldn't you know it, the following week, NXT announces we're going to have a winner-take-all match for July 8th between NXT champion Adam Cole and the NXT North American champion Keith Lee, with the winner becoming the first dual champion in NXT history. Now, people sort of said, okay, that's counter-programming, but that's what we're going to do. Okay, they said, look, I'm happy to see the match. I think it's great. I think it's historic. It's, you know, it certainly makes you want to watch NXT that week without a doubt, but you roll your eyes slightly at it. Then suddenly, a week before Fyter Fest starts next week, a week before Fyter Fest, it's suddenly announced that next week, the NXT isn't just NXT, it's the Great American Bash. The Great American Bash is back, which is cool. I love the Great American Bash, but the timing, come on. And you will have people that will still continue this narrative of WWE is not threatened by AEW. WWE doesn't pay attention to AEW. They just focus on what we're doing. We don't even pay attention to what they're doing. Come on. I mean, come on, seriously? And then, after it's announced that the Great American Bash is returning, it's announced the Great American Bash is going to take place over 2 weeks. I mean, come on. Just say it. Just admit. We didn't know AEW were going to do a pay-per-view over 2 weeks. We have to do something. Look, I don't have a problem with it. I really don't. But, because when you look back on it historically, the Monday Night Wars, it was filled with all of this sort of stuff. Eric Bischoff releasing results on the air, throwing titles in bins, having people return, legends come back, all of that stuff, you know, segments, all to counteract the opposition programming and get you to watch their product. It's the nature of the beast. That's what it is. The problem that I do have with this is this argument or this narrative that we continue to get from sources inside WWE, reports online, and even some of the WWE higher-ups, executives, and superstars, and whenever they do interviews, when they say, oh, we don't focus on the competition. AEW isn't competition. They go, that's the minor league. Right? That's the minor league. That's what we got from Seth Rollins. That's the minor league. WWE isn't worried about AEW. Well, they are. They are. Of course they are. Vince McMahon is pissed off that he loses 9 out of 10 Wednesdays to another wrestling company that he doesn't own and he can't control. And he's not happy with it. We've seen the reports. We spoke about it previously on the YouTube channel. We've seen all the reports online. Vince McMahon isn't happy that he's losing. Vince McMahon doesn't like to lose. Vince McMahon doesn't like to lose to COVID. Vince McMahon doesn't like to lose to the federal government. He refuses to lose. There is a war here. Vince McMahon doesn't lose. He hates losing. He hates not being able to control something. In his head, I would assume that's the reason he thinks that he's losing the NXT versus AEW battle, because he's not in charge. He's not in charge of that show, which is why you're starting to hear the rumblings and rumours that Vince McMahon, we're going to see some more fingerprints on that NXT show. So the war is on. The war is on. It's always been on. And it's only going to get better, in my opinion. Look, we got 2 stacked shows next week. And on July 8th, we've got even more stacked shows. We've got the AEW World Championship on the line. We've got Chris Jericho versus Orange Cassidy. On NXT, you've got a winner-take-all match. The first ever dual champion in NXT history. Adam Cole versus Keith Lee. This is great. This is great television. Wars and conflicts, when it comes to professional wrestling, when you have 2 shows, the product always gets better. And we get better shows. The Monday Night Wars have proved that. Now, people are going to say, oh, the ratings of NXT versus AEW aren't exactly what people thought. Maybe not. But the quality of show is absolutely there, and it gets better because these are 2 shows, 2 companies pushing each other to get better. Now, again, I do slightly roll my eyes at the Great American Bash announcement. I've been saying for a long time. I've put it on social media before. I really want to see the Great American Bash come back. If WWE and AEW are bringing back all of these past WCW pay-per-views, it was revealed that actually October 31st this year is actually a Saturday. So WWE, if you really want to move the needle, if you really want to get something going, why don't we have NXT TakeOver Halloween Havoc? That's the show I want to see. Halloween Havoc was my favourite WCW pay-per-view. I just want to see that pumpkin back. So bring back the pumpkin, WWE, because that's what will turn the number. If you really want to compete with AEW on a Wednesday night, even if they don't put it on the Saturday, because NXT takeovers are actually on Sundays now, but if you really want to compete WWE, when it comes to October, that's when you put in, okay, we're going to do a Halloween Havoc themed episode of NXT, and they'll win. They'll probably win when they do that. That's what it's all about, and it's all about winning. It's all about winning, especially when it comes to Vince McMahon. So this idea, this narrative, WWE isn't afraid of AEW, or they don't even look at AEW. That's the thing that I think bugs me the most. We don't even pay attention. We're not even paying attention. Why would we look at that? It's not WWE. They're not competition. Well, come on. You counter-programmed them about 1 million times. And again, it's not a bad thing. Just be honest. Now, of course, this is just one man's opinion. What do you think of the return of the Great American Bash? Which show will you be watching next week? Great American Bash or Fyter Fest? Or will you be channel hopping between them? Let me know in the comments section below which show you'll be watching. Don't forget to subscribe to WrestleNews 365. You can do that by clicking the bottom right hand corner of the screen right now, or if you wait a few seconds, there'll be a subscribe button at the end of this video, along with another video for you to watch. Be sure to follow us on all of our social media platforms on the screen right now. That's at WrestleNews365 on Instagram and Facebook, and at 365Wrestle on Twitter, or go to WrestleNews365.com for all the very latest news and updates. Thank you very much for watching, listening, streaming, or however you've come across this video today, and I'll speak with you again very soon. Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.